So one is you always miss the timing of good things, either by omission or commission. So in some way, shape, or form, you're always missing the timing of what appear to be good things for your life. And this is something that happens all the time, regularly. Okay, again, these are things that happen regularly. It means, very frequently. Okay. Two, you are promised help or favor by people, but before they can help you, bad things happen to them, making them unable to fulfill their promises to you. Okay? So you're promised help, and so people want to show you favor. Okay? But since the enemy can't get to you specifically, he'll work through these other people that were sent to be your helpers. Okay? Causing them in some way, shape, or form to be unable to fulfill their promise to you. So the Marine Kingdom will work in their lives to try to break that down, so you don't reap the benefits of that. Okay. Number three, on the day that you are invited to receive the favor or help, okay, things beyond your control or things you didn't understand will mysteriously or forcibly start to happen, and it keeps you from going to the place of help or the place of blessing. Okay, things might happen in your life. You're unable to make the appointment. Something happens. It gets canceled. Something else happens, either with your kids or with your family or something along those lines. If those things keep happening regularly in your life, okay, and bringing disruption, then there's some assignments from the Marine Kingdom. Number four, in the midst of many people, you are always signaled out for rebuke, reprimand, suspension, or victimization for no just cause. Okay, and I'm not talking about maybe you get a person online that don't like something you posted or whatever, and that tends to happen. But if you have these types of things that happen frequently or regularly, then you probably have something going on with the Marine Kingdom. There's something working there against your life, okay, to bring hindrance. Even if that hindrance is just brought to try to ruin your day, right? To try to bring you down, to get you to lose hope about something, whatever the case may be. Okay. You are always punished for other people's offenses. So things can happen, things can go on in the midst of people, maybe between friendships or that sort of thing, or in families or whatever. And maybe your heart was set on just trying to do right or trying to fix or mend the situation, but for some reason you get dragged in the midst of situations, right? And you get blamed for stuff. Okay, if that happens to you a lot, probably got an issue with the Marine Kingdom there. People somehow find it difficult to help you. They'll rather give their help to someone else who is less deserving than you are. Okay. Number seven, you do good, but you are paid back seriously. You're paid back with evil, and your life is full of hatred, dislike, and discord from other people. Okay. You do good. You got a pure heart. You got a good heart. Okay. You make sure that you're always holy and obedient before the Lord. Even, okay, you keep your mind clean. You don't have negative thoughts about people, right? Your intentions and everything that you do are good, and they're wholesome, right? And you do all of these things, but it seems like you're always paid back with evil. You're always paid back with some kind of discord, somebody stabbing you in the back, somebody lying on you, that sort of thing. Okay, and as God's people, we're always going to have this stuff come up here and there when God gives us assignments and certain things to do or certain things to talk, certain people to rebuke, certain things to post about, certain things to teach about. Okay, the enemy's always going to come out of the woodwork, probably in some way, shape, or form. Okay, but that doesn't mean that there's an assignment against your life. Specifically, we're talking about, if these things happen all the time, when you do those things for God and when you're not doing those things for God, when you're just trying to just do good in life in general or be a good friend or something of that nature. Okay, and you always end up in some way, shape, or form being repaid back with evil, or not being repaid with anything, right? So you're sowing all these things into other people's lives, but you're never reaping anything back from any of these people. Okay. And again, we're not saying that we sow for the purpose of saying a person has to give us back something. We're simply saying that we know according to the word of God, there's a spiritual law that's there that when you sow something, you will reap something. So it'll come from somewhere. Okay. But if these things aren't happening, the marine kingdom has something tied up in your life, the blessings of your life. Okay. There's something. So as you're sowing and sowing and sowing and sowing and sowing, all of these things that are supposed to be reaped back, they're being hindered and apprehended by the marine kingdom out of your life. Number 8, you always have last minute disappointments. You always tend to end up with last minute disappointments in so much of the stuff that you do, so much of the stuff that goes on in your life. Okay. Everything can seem good, seem great. You got your hopes up because that's where God said they're supposed to be, right? You're walking the path, you're doing what you're supposed to do, and you end up with last minute disappointments on a regular basis. Number 9, despite your gifts, talents, and potentials, people find it easy to forget, ignore, or bypass you, even to the point of using you and then dumping you. Okay, and that doesn't just necessarily mean in a physical type of relationship, but just it could be work-related relationships, business, entrepreneurial, family relationships, all of that. Okay, it doesn't just have to be with a man and woman in a regular type of relationship. Okay. Now, a lot of times, what actually happens in any type of relationship when a relationship's come to you, the potential for one, something's forming, whether it's in business, family, whatever the case may be, right? You always need to ask God to give you the discernment to let you know what's truly taking place there and what the spiritual purpose is in all of that. Okay, because like you've seen some of my posts, I posted demons of the same feather flock together. Okay, the reality of it is that if God has called you to carry a mantle of a healer, right, or a deliverer, a couple things will happen in your life. Okay, you'll carry the light of God. So people who have demonic spirits that just want to bring ruin will come into your life all the time. Narcissistic men, Jezebelic spirit will come to men. The narcissistic spirit comes to women. Okay, and it comes in. Those demons are attracted to the light in you. Okay, spirit to spirit, they'll come to bring ruin. But you will also have certain types of people that their soul will truly want to be set free, and their spirit man will see your spirit man in the spirit realm. They can see one another. Just as I'm sitting here teaching this to you, every one of you guys in the realm of the spirit, your spirit man is watching. Right now, I'm speaking to you spirit to spirit. Okay? You see it with the physical eyes, flesh to flesh, but I'm speaking to you spirit to spirit. Okay? So you will also have people that their spirit will see you. It will know that their soul is in trouble and in bondage. Parts of their souls are fragmented and trapped and held captive by the kingdom of darkness. And they'll want to be free, truly be free so bad, it will draw them to you, right? Their spirit will come to you because it knows that you carry the spirit of light. It knows that you carry the healing spirit, a delivering spirit, and that you can bring freedom to them through Jesus Christ. And so it will be drawn to you for those reasons as well. Okay? But there are many people, even people who appear to be Christians, who appear to be in the body of Christ, they are driven by these other spirits they don't have no understanding about, and they'll draw to you, they'll come to you, and they'll suck off of you like leeches. All kinds of different things can happen, and they'll appear to be Christian the whole entire time, and they won't consciously know what's even taking place, right? It'll happen. These other spirits will be working in them. Okay, so this is why it's important for people to be delivered and healed before you think that you want to get into some kind of relationship, or you want to, see if God has somebody for you or whatever. Okay, I'm not saying that a person has to be 100% perfect, because none of us ever are. right? Throughout our whole entire life, we're being taken from glory to glory. You may be all good and well, and somebody comes and does something to you tomorrow that brings an offense to you that now you got to go and heal from. Okay, so it's like nobody's ever 100% of everything any of the time. Okay, what makes Jesus Christ is what makes us holy and righteous before God. Okay, and walking in obedience and holiness and that sort of thing. That's what puts us in that place before God. But my point to that is that if you're not healed and delivered, that means you still have those spirits inside of you, or you still have those spirits working in your life. You may still have a tie to a spirit spouse, a spirit husband, or a spirit wife, and you've been waiting all this time for God to bring you a husband and God to bring you a wife, right? That's holy and godly. But God himself can't bring you a holy, purified vessel that he's had separate, right? That he's made sacred, right? He can't bring that into your life and give that to you because you're still married to a spirit husband or a spirit wife. You still got soul ties to your past. You don't want to let go of things that you have in your life because they have to do with an ex or they have to do with this person, but you want God to bring you a husband or a wife into your life. I'm telling you right now, it's not going to happen. Not God's doing. The enemy will bring a bunch of things to you, a bunch of Christians around that seem great, but I'm telling you right now, spirit connects to spirit. And if you have a certain type of brokenness inside of you, you have a certain type of trauma, you're gonna draw someone in the spirit realm that has that same kind of trauma in their life that they've not been healed from. And I think many people are aware of trauma bonding. They talk about it in the natural aspect, but when you talk about in the spiritual aspect, it's something, it's kind of the same, but it's still something completely different because you can't deal with it in any natural means. You can't get rid of that stuff from any natural means. And so they talk about it now, right, in like counseling and therapy sessions and stuff. And whatever, it's okay, you can talk about it, but if it's not dealt with spiritually, it's not going to go away. You may think that it went away because you don't deal with some specific feelings or hurt feelings or whatever based off of it. But the truth is, if it's not been done by God through his word, through prayer and all this other stuff, you ain't really healed like what you think you are. You can't use just these natural types of means and ways to destroy spiritual things. I don't care what you think you can do in therapy. That's why none of those things really ever work. Okay? I watch people go through drug programs and do all this stuff for years and years and years and be clean off drugs for 3 or 4 years, and next thing you know, something happens and boom, they'll end up being right back to it. Why? Because the trauma, the pain, the hurt, the rejection, all those things was never dealt with by God. The spirit of addiction was never casted out of that person. It just sat around inside that person waiting for the next opportunity to bring them right back into the darkness, right? They all of those things were never taken out of them from a spiritual standpoint. Their souls was never healed. All right. So I'm telling you, it's vital. Many people, I get it. You know, we weren't created to be alone. So I understand that. I understand, you know, being lonely and wanting to find, you know, somebody else who's a Christian. But I'm telling you, the best thing that you can do is seek God, seek God, seek God, seek God between you and him for your relationship, and let him work out everything else. God will bring you a spouse. If you trust him for everything, why is it that we wouldn't trust him for that? Why is it that we don't seek him for that? Right? We seek him for all these other things. Things that we don't trust God with is, as a spouse, we don't really trust God specifically with finances. We think all of our money belongs to us as long as we listen to the church and give them 10%, then somehow the other 90% belongs to us. And it's not true. Okay? 100% of everything that we have, 100% of everything that we are, all of it belongs to God. Our physical bodies don't even belong to us anymore. That's Bible. Right? So everything that we are don't even belong to us. So none of those other things belong to us either. Right? I'm telling you, I counsel with a lot of people, and everybody is, nobody wants to be alone. You know, I get it. So all the single males and the single females, I get it. You know, and everybody wants, you know, if you're not careful, the enemy will bring people into your life, and then you'll just be wasting however many years of your life again with somebody else, right? So, and those of you who've had to, that God has brought out of those kinds of marriages that weren't ordained and put together by him, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And then you got to go through more trials. You got to go through more healing, right? You got to go through more forgiveness of of that person, right? Forgiving the person for things that they've done and stuff. It's just it becomes a major battle, right? You're only gonna attract those same kind of spirits. You need to be delivered, and you need to, go through your healing process and everything first. Let God bring you somebody who's healed. He may bring you somebody who went through similar situations as you, right? But then both people are healed. Again, not talking about 100% healed. I'm just talking about where that brokenness and all those things isn't going to be a disruption and cause all kinds of chaos into the the marriage. You get what I'm saying? Number 10, your progress is not equal to your efforts. Your input always exceeds the output no matter what you do. Okay, that kind of goes with one of the others, with your talents and abilities. So your progress is not equal to your efforts. You put in all kinds of efforts. You're sowing in all these different areas of your life, but you're not reaping back the rewards that you want to, or that you should. Okay, your input always exceeds the output no matter what you do. Number 11, in the midst of many people, you're the one that disaster strikes all the time. So in the midst of all your friends, all these different people, shoot, I even know what it's like to be in the midst of like a bunch of worldly friends, and it seems like they end up with blessings, right? It seems like they end up with blessing, but you're the Christian, right? You're the Christian. You're the one that submitted your whole entire life to God, and it just seems like you keep getting knocked around left and right. Okay, probably got a hindrance. There's something there that's pertaining to the marine kingdom. The marine kingdom is major overseer in finances. Okay, overseer in finances. Why? Because this is the strongest kingdom that puts out all of these vain things. This is the strongest kingdom with all these principalities that are over vanity, that are over luxury items, that are over all of this stuff. Okay, and what do? We spend money on all of those things. So now you understand why that this kingdom is the biggest inhibitor to finances, to financial gains and financial prosperities, according to what the Word of God says that belong to us, right? You are always visited with regular or repeated tragedies or near-death situations. Okay, if that's something that happens regularly to you. Number 13, you repeatedly lose opportunities for political, entrepreneurial, business, financial, or educational rising. Okay, you lose the opportunities. Something comes in, it brings destruction to it. Okay, some kind of business plan, and also, if you have been living your life for God, you've been saved, right? And you have these things working, and you have these things flowing in your life, right? And the blessings and stuff are coming, whether it's through business, whether it's whatever God's having you do. And you find these things are working and things are going good. And then for some reason, you start to have some kind of destruction. You start to lose certain opportunities, right? Opportunities for business, for income, those kinds of things. You need to ask God to give you revelation about who and what has came into your life. Okay? Who and what has came into your life. It could be somebody in the church. It could be some kind of new friendships you met through work, right? Right? And it could either be like girl to girl friendships, like somebody, or male to male friendships, or if you're a married couple, you could all of a sudden have another married couple that come into your life. All different kinds of ways people come into our lives, right? But you start to look at who and what comes into your life, even if they seem godly, even if they talk godly, whatever it happens to be. Okay, I'm telling you these things through experiences. Okay, I had a person who claimed to be a prophet, and he came into my life at one point in time, and next thing you know, business contracts started to dry up and certain things, right? And the Lord started revealing this stuff to me. Okay, so these things happen, and then you whatever God has you do at that point, that's how you should handle it. So it'd be easy to say, oh, just cut him off and don't talk to him anymore. If God has you rebuke them, God has you tell them to their face, God has you not say nothing. Maybe God just has you block them and never talk to them again. Whatever it happens to be, then you need to let God lead you in that situation. You need to do what he tells you to do and how he tells you to do it. Okay? Because it may be that rebuke, or it may be that correction, or it may be whatever it is that he has you to do. It may be that thing that wakes that person up spiritually, and they start to realize what's going on and operating in their life. Okay? Because I've done many things that God has asked me to do. I mean, long ago, when God started working with me in my giftings, from, how do I want to say this, from a perspective of what I knew he was calling me to do, to where I finally had submitted my life to him. Okay? Because there was many things that he showed me throughout all the years of my life, even when I was younger. Okay? And like, he would give me revelation about things that I would do when I was older, and I knew I was older because I could see myself as an older person. I could see people, I could see certain things, and it caused me to, I manipulated that. Okay? And when I was younger growing up, and I manipulated that, I knew that I wasn't going to die. So when I did certain things, and I was around certain people, and we did certain things, like the first time I was shot at, I was 13 years old. Okay? And I think at that point in time, that was the first time I think that my heart hardened. My heart really hardened at that time when I was younger. Okay? But it was like, throughout all of this time, I knew that I wouldn't die, so I wasn't afraid of anything. Like I manipulated that situation with God. Okay? But so as I got older, and when I finally gave my life to God and submitted my life to God, there were times where I was caused, and I'm sure some of you guys can relate to this, that God used situations that was taking place with friends that were still living in the world, and God would reveal things to me in a different way now that I submitted my life to them. I would always know things when people were lying to me. I'd always have discernment. I always had giftings, even when I was living in the world. The Bible says that the gifts are without repentance, but not all of them work that way. When you're living in the world, you can't always be 100% certain that's God speaking to you if you're high and you're drunk, or when you're in the club, or you're doing other things that you're not supposed to be doing, right? And so, like, but when I gave my life to God, there were moments and times when he would show me things about people, and I would know that he was telling me that I had to go to them and bring light to what it is they were doing in darkness, and telling them that if they didn't stop doing it, that certain things was going to happen in their life. And I knew in my spirit, I knew when I did this that they were never going to talk to me again. Right? It was like the Lord had me put my old life on the altar of sacrifice for his fire to come down and burn it all up. But he used my giftings and made me go and do it. You know what I'm saying? Made me go and do it in this way. And every time I would be like, man, I already know what's going to happen. Like, they're not going to talk to me, or they're going to be mad, right? They're going to tell me I don't know what I'm talking about, whatever. And I'm telling you, all the people that I used to hang out with, if I could get them on this live and get them to be truthful, they would all tell you the truth, that God gave me prophetic revelation about every single one of their lives, either stuff that was going to happen or things that they were doing, about them becoming pregnant, being marrying people they weren't supposed to, deceiving, lying, doing all this different stuff. Like, he just gave me with this complete rundown of all of these different things in people's lives. And what it did is it caused destruction in all of it, you know? And it was like, there was part of me that didn't want to do it simply for the fact that I didn't want to hurt nobody's feelings, right? But it was like a training process when I was younger, you know? And I had to, it took me through this whole entire process, basically, where he caused me to, by my own giftings, I put these friendships and relationships on the altar of sacrifice for God. Okay. So, number 14, you labor, and when it is time to reap something, somehow you are pushed out of place, and you have to start again. Okay. And you keep starting things and never finishing them. Okay. This also has to do, if you see this type of thing in your life that happens every so often, like, say, every couple of months specifically something's happening, every 6 months something specifically is happening, every year around the same time something is happening, okay? You have a demonic power working against you, and this is called the destiny and the cycle of life. These are demonic powers and demons that are set out to ruin destiny and the cycle of life. It keeps your life in the same cycle, repeated cycle, in some way, shape, or form. Okay? And it causes you to have to start all over again. Or it'll cause something to bring in, you'll accept something in your life and it'll bring ruin. Okay? These things also, in this same manner from the marine kingdom, also can be tied to the cosmic kingdom. Okay? Because every person, there's some people that don't believe this, but if you go back to what I taught about the cosmic kingdom, okay, this pertains to a person's star. A person's star represents their birth. A lot of people are like, "Oh, that's not true. That's not even biblical." Blah 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 blah. That's what they try to say. But it's a represent. Everyone. Do you know how many stars are actually even out there? Okay, right? This pertains. Do you know what? When people celebrate their birthdays, when people ask me how old I am, I have to legitimately think about it. I started getting to the point where I just say it for like, I don't know how many years. I just been saying the same age all the way. Like, I just keep saying the same age. You know, because I stopped celebrating birthdays. I stopped even going through that whole process of thinking how old I was, how old I'm turning, all that stuff. And so much of my life's changing, even from a health perspective. You stop even thinking about or comprehending any type of age or where you're going in age, period. None of that, because it's not even really relevant, right? So, and I usually spend that time period when I was born. I spend that whole entire time period with God in prayer and worship for days. Okay. And I say all that to say this with the star is that this is the representation of the celebration. Nowhere in scripture do we even see Jesus celebrating his birthday. Nowhere. They never celebrated. None of these people ever celebrated their birthday. Do you not understand? Like this, I just don't understand sometimes how things don't register with people. Like, why do we do this stuff? Why do we do this stuff in the natural on this earth? It was never even done in the Bible. Like, it's somewhere along the lines, it was all created. It was all created. Do you know that the blowing out of candles is a demonic representation of blowing out your star, blowing out your age and your destiny, the cycle of life? All of these things pertain together. Okay? I'm telling you, I have a destiny and cycle of life prayer. I really know in my spirit before I release it that I want to make it like 2 or 3 times as long as what it is, because I just know in my spirit that God has more for me to put in there. Okay, it's something I've had for a while, and that's why I haven't put it out publicly, because I know in my spirit that there's more for me to add to that. So I want to do that before God has me put that out there. Okay, but all of this stuff pertains to these things, right? And if you notice, isn't it unusual that they have you put a candle, right? A candle for every number of the age of what you are, right? And in our natural minds, we just think, oh, it's just a celebration of a birthday, and we just go on and we do it. It's just it's why? Remember what I tell you. Everything that we do in the natural has a spiritual representation to it. Everything that we do, there's a spiritual reasoning for it. Okay? Everything that you do, everything that you don't do, there is something happening in the realm of the spirit because of it. Do you get what I'm saying? Your spirit man is not in the spirit realm just chilling, not doing nothing. It's never like that. Ever. Never like that. Everything that happens, everything you do on this earth, everything that is done publicly, right, community-wise, whatever it is, there is a spiritual reasoning to it. Something is happening in the spirit realm. Okay? And when you start understanding this, you need to start understanding that, especially if you're called to territorial warfare, okay? Like, I wouldn't even attempt to do anything in territorial warfare or nothing if you don't understand that from a spiritual perspective, the spirit realm. Okay, everything that takes place has a spiritual reasoning behind it, whether of the Lord or whether of the kingdom of darkness. There's something that's taking place. There's a reason why it's happening. And if you want to bring down certain false ministries, certain demonic stuff, you want to bring down certain demonic companies, you want to end the drug wars in your region, you want to destroy human trafficking, you want to do any of these types of things, I'm telling you right now, you have to start letting God give you revelation knowledge of what's taking place in the spirit realm pertaining to these different things. and how it works, how it operates, right? How it needs to be broken down. Okay? I'm going to tell you right now that, like many of you, is because you just think, oh, drug trafficking, or oh, it's human trafficking, and you got people doing it. I'm telling you right now, there's heavy voodoos, there's heavy witchcraft, there's some heavy stuff that pertains to human trafficking that people's minds don't even you just don't even comprehend it or fathom it unless God has given you spiritual understanding. Okay? And I'm telling you, in order to end these things, it's not simply going to happen just by gaining some natural knowledge. Okay. Now, when you gain that natural knowledge and then you take it back to God and you let God reveal things to you supernaturally, spiritually, then you gain spiritual knowledge from God on how to go about bringing destruction to that. And then it will work both in the natural and the spiritual. God will send you to a particular place, to a particular state, and have you go and stand at a particular place, facing particular directions, speaking and proclaiming certain things. Okay? And then you will see things happen that will come from the spiritual into the natural. Okay? So number 15, with all your good character, sweet, loving, and caring nature. Okay? And we talked earlier about, just the good-hearted nature. Your relationships, your marriage, your friendships, even working relationships, things always end up in shambles. There's always things that are in shambles. Things are always rocky. And it doesn't have to be every single day, but if it's something you experience regularly, if you got stuff going on in your friendships, relationships, and marriage, if you have anything in any of those realms, okay, the marriage, friendships, relationships, work relationships, and you're having shambles every few days or even a couple times a week or whatever the case may be, it's just something somewhere in any of these places are happening in any way, shape, or form, whether it's arguments, whatever, breakups, heartbreaks, just different pains, everything you do, it is seen and looked upon like with serious faults. There's always miscommunications, whatever the case may be. You got something coming against you in the marine kingdom. Okay. So I'm going to go. I have some more scripture, and then we're going to get into the products. We're going to get into the products from the marine kingdom, and I have some scriptures and stuff that go along here. Okay. And then we'll go into some questions. All right. So you guys need to hear me out in the spirit, because a few of you might not, a few of you might not care for this, but to God be the glory for it also. So products from the marine kingdom, okay? And many occult practices, the source of witchcraft is water-based. Okay, this is facts. It's water-based, right? There are a lot of occult practices that are blood-based, right, that pertain to death and sacrificing of animals or humans and that sort of thing as well. And there's even, like when it comes to the marine kingdom and water kingdom, okay, there's even people who commit suicides. Like there's certain bridges in this country and certain places and locations in these bigger cities where people jump off these bridges to commit suicides and stuff like that. And there's certain principalities and powers that govern all that when it comes to death, right? It's the sacrificing of death, that demonic spirit that's in that person, right? And the spirit of suicide and probably spirit of depression, right? Many other spirits, but collectively they draw that person to a place of committing suicide in the waters, because that spirit that's in them, that the ranking principality that governs the depression and all those things, all of that comes from the marine kingdom. Okay, there's spirits of depression that come from all of these kingdoms. Okay, that can be assigned from all these kingdoms. All right, there can be a spirit of hatred that comes from any one of these kingdoms. Right? The spirit of hatred isn't just like, oh, it's the spirit of hatred. It's coming from somewhere, from one of these kingdoms. Okay? Whatever it is that you may be tied to. You may carry a spirit of hatred because you're tied to one of these specific kingdoms. Maybe you're given over to vanities. Maybe you're given over to certain things, right? And so you have that kind of hatred or whatever it is inside of you, but that spirit of hatred is actually connected to the marine kingdom. So once you get these things broken off of you, you realize the spirit of hatred's gone, right? So again, driving that person to commit that suicide is because those spirits are from the marine kingdom, and it causes that person to commit suicide by water. It's a sacrifice of that human person. Does that make sense? It causes them, they're literally sacrificing that human being. So it's not another human sacrificing another human. These spirits are causing that human to be the sacrifice. You understand what I'm saying? This is how, okay? Another prophetic representation of this is that when Jesus casted all of those spirits out of the man that lived in the cave that was by the sea, okay, and those spirits said, it said we're legion, for we are many. Okay, there was many spirits, right? All of those spirits belong to the marine kingdom. The way that you know this is because when they asked Jesus to go into the pigs, he cast them out. He cast them into the pigs. Where did those pigs go? Back into the marine kingdom. They went back into the sea, into the waters, because those spirits originally came from the waters. Their assignment was over. Their assignment was to that man. Their assignment was over. They couldn't go into all those people. They couldn't do any of that stuff. They asked to be put in those pigs. Why? So they could go back to the kingdom in which they originally came from. You understand? They were from the marine kingdom. They went back to the marine kingdom. Okay, products from the marine kingdom. In many occult practices, the source of witchcraft is water-based. Where these water spirits are contacted for supernatural powers, they get supernatural revelation, they get supernatural creativity, right? People in the church body, okay, that appear to be prophets. There's specific people that have called themselves prophets right now that get their revelation from the marine kingdom. Okay, I might do this tomorrow. I'm going to post a picture of one of them, and I'm going to cover their face, and I'm going to let all of you that see, I'm going to let you comment on this picture so that you don't know who it is, and I'm just going to ask you what you see. And I want you guys to tell me how many of you see all of the marine kingdom stuff in the picture. Okay? Gets their revelation from the marine kingdom. You say, how can that revelation be accurate? When revelation's given about somebody's past, the devil has always been there. The devil's been watching and seeing and knowing everything that all of these people do. So these people come and say, "Oh, you've been through 2 divorces, or you was stabbed once, or whatever revelation they have." The devil was there. He knows everything that went on, everything that they did. Okay, any of these prophets or apostles that tell people to sow seeds for blessing, right? You'll get a kingdom wife or a kingdom husband. I need 10 people to bring $1,000 up here, and you'll get this specific type of whatever the case may be. These are false prophets. They're from the marine kingdom, right? Vanity, money. Those are quick ways to tell where people come from. Quick ways to tell where people come from, right? How they live, what kind of cars they have, all the custom suits, all this other stuff, okay? Now, I'm not saying that a person can't have money from business investments and entrepreneur endeavors and stuff like that and use that money and have nice things in life. I'm not saying that. But when you're raping the people of God financially and using that money to drop millions in real estate investments, right, for your own benefit, but you ain't put up no homeless shelters anywhere where you've been at. You ain't put together no food banks. You ain't feeding the homeless. You ain't doing nothing for the poor and the needy and all these other people in the world, right? You're doing all this stuff for you. That's completely different. Okay. So the things that are designed in the spirit world are used on earth to supply people who have signed contracts with the devil, okay? Because the devil is ultimately the high-ranking principality over all three of the earth domains, and then Lucifer's over him in the cosmic domain, okay? So they have basically signed contracts with the devil. We see this all through anywhere you find high value, lots of money, okay? Whether it's in sports, whether it's in Hollywood, all that kind of stuff, right? All of these contracts that are signed, these are contracts and agreements that we know that are made with the kingdom of darkness. When you see people of the church, when you see people who are Christian music artists, when you see them doing these things, they're making music, they're making movies, they're doing whatever it is and the stuff that they're doing, they're signing their name onto contracts that also have the name of a person that is in the world that lives for the devil. These people have contracts already signed with the devil, and you're going as a Christian, signing your name on a contract with that same person that already has contracts signed with the devil. You're signing contracts with the kingdom of darkness. Okay? You're signing contracts with the kingdom of darkness. I don't care what you think you're doing. I don't care if you're like, oh, I'm a Christian and I go to church, 8 days a week. Okay? Like it doesn't matter what you think you're doing mentally. It doesn't matter like, oh, I have a good heart. None of that stuff. That stuff will not matter. That stuff will not matter. It's what you're actually doing in the realm of the spirit when you're doing these things. Okay? They're victims, okay? Victims are the people who want the contracts, who want the money, who want the fame, right? They receive good sales, they receive prosperity in return, and usually they must sacrifice souls to the enemy at some point in time in order to go higher, in order to elevate, right? To get more fame, to get more money. A lot of you probably don't know this, but if you probably did a little bit of research, you could probably find it, unless maybe it was wiped from the internet too. But before every evil and demonic movie is put out, scary movie, any of that kind of stuff that has to do with death or vampires or rituals or any of that kind of stuff, somebody pertaining to that movie had to die. Somebody pertaining to that movie had to die. It doesn't mean that a person that was directly casted in it or someone who directed it or filmed it or edited it had to die, but somebody in their bloodline, in their generations that was directly involved with that movie had to die before that movie could go forth and be prosperous. Okay? All of this stuff. We know that all of these things are just demonic in general, right? Whether it's the film industry, music industry, all this stuff, we know that it's demonic in general, okay? But this is the level and depths of which it is actually demonic. There isn't anything good that comes out of those things until a person gets born again. Maybe someone gets spared and someone gets ministered to, and they come out of those things and they get born again, okay? But when it comes to actually living in that life and that lifestyle, it's not good. We know that. So failure to do these types of sacrifices that is needed in the realm of the spirit, okay, will result in serious consequences, including bankruptcies, exploitations, which we've seen certain people who have then become Christians. These certain groups and certain people will then exploit them, make them look crazy, right? Put out news medias, all this different stuff, okay, about them to get people to believe certain ways and certain things, okay? They can end up in foreclosures, they can lose businesses, homes, that sort of thing. Many of the high technological researches and the invention of many gaming systems, right? Gaming systems and all of their games are designed under the waters. They come from the marine kingdom in order to take children away from the desire to become Christians, for one, or dedicated Christians, and to carry them into a vagabond type lifestyle, right? A spiritual desolate lifestyle. This is why most games are demonic, or they have demonic characters, or if they're not directly outright demonic with killing and with just different types of demonic characters in general that you would see in the spirit realm, they have demonic characters in a way that represents worldly things, even in the sports. Okay, I'm not saying that there's no Christians, true Christians in sports either. I'm talking about the foundations of what that is. Okay, now those people can have influence on other people in those industries, but those people themselves are not going to change the entire industry of anything, whether it's sports or music or anything, right? They're not going to change the entire industry. Most of the time, what happens in these areas, okay, is that you'll have true born again believers, okay? They'll come out of that stuff, they'll give their life to Christ, and they'll still work and operate in sports or music or movies or whatever, okay? And if they make it to where the industry doesn't tear them down, okay, which what's going to happen now mostly, because we've shifted into a place to where they're not completely denying Christianity anymore. They're just blurring the lines of everything. So this is how close we are to the end times, because this is the plan of the enemy, to blur the lines of what being pure and profane actually is, right? To actually be born again and actually be in a tear. So you're going to have like 2/3 of the country says that they're Christian. 2/3 of the country right now says that they're Christian. And we know that literally they're not born again. So what's going to happen is you're going to have these few people that will get born again in these different industries, and they'll become born again, and they'll, even if they start to make it big and the industry doesn't tear them down, the industry and the demonic powers that work in the industry will find a way to manipulate their true witness, okay, their true witness, and dumb it down to where now everybody else will claim to also be Christian, but really not actually be born again. You get what I'm saying? The plan of the enemy is to blur the line so much to where everybody will call themselves a Christian, and most people won't be able to tell the difference, right? It'll really take the gift of discerning of spirits, and to hearing the voice of God, and really take that deep, personal, intimate relationship with each and every person to know who's really real and who isn't, because everything's going to appear so much alike. The Bible literally says that. Okay, the Bible literally says that that's what's going to happen. So again, pertaining to I'll share a piece of revelation that the Lord gave me back in, I would have to look it up to know the exact date, but I'm wanting to say in like 2018. So I had been in a place with God where I was like, Lord, please give me something that you've not spoken to anyone else about. Please give me revelation. Because I asked for revelation knowledge for all the time. Like my grandmother, when I was younger, even when I, acted wild and did things according to the world, like I kind of mentioned earlier, she taught me when I was younger that there is a proverbs for every day of the month, right? So I had always been in, like, I still even to this day start my studies and stuff I do with a proverb. Like that's the first thing that I study out, right? But my point to that is the wisdom and revelation. Okay, out of nowhere, the Lord put revelation knowledge in my spirit one time when I was in my early 20s, and so I started praying and asking Him for revelation knowledge. I didn't even really know specifically what it was or what I was even asking for. And the very first night I did, He woke me up, just boom, right up out of my sleep. I sat up, and He started downloading all this information about this husband and wife that I was friends with, that were also involved in the church and from a platform perspective. And He started downloading all this information. I was like, no way. And He showed me stuff that had happened that was like, none of the stuff was being done to me or about me. It had nothing to do with me in that aspect. He was just revealing to me what was really going on. And I was like, wow. And He was showing me how, like, I was certain places there, and like sneaky things was happening behind my back. Again, it didn't have nothing to do with me. They just didn't want me to know about stuff. And so like all this stuff started getting revealed to me. So I came to this place where I started asking God for revelation knowledge a lot. So at one point in time, and I'm saying this because it pertains to the video game, okay? Pertains to the gaming. So I asked the Lord to reveal to me, I have a fuzz or something, Simon. I asked the Lord to reveal to me something that hadn't been given to anyone, that nobody else knew about. I'm like, Lord, please share with me. And so like I went to sleep that night. I had a prophetic dream, but it was about something completely different, right? So, but I knew right when I was waking up that I was going to write that, I was going to document that dream. But as soon as I woke up, I seen this word written on the ceiling. My natural eyes were open, but it was written to where it looked like it was written in the natural. Okay, but it was my spiritual eyes that were seeing what was written in the spiritual. Okay, and it was a word smirt, and you can write this down, SMIRT, if you want. So you can verify what I'm saying now at this point. I've never released this. I've never talked about it to nobody. At some point I was going to put it out there to the public. I have tons of stuff that I've never talked about or never put out there, right? And many of you understand that because you give God the glory for everything. Like you don't have any desire, to be known for things, and so you have all of these years and all of these like testimonies and all this different stuff that you don't have. You don't try to take the glory from God, and His Word actually says that. So, and when you see all these people, they want the hand claps, they want the praise, they want the applause. Like any testimonies that should have been kept between them and God, and maybe that other person or a few other people, they've already wasted on trying to build their own platform. They've already sold out, right? You can't go back and get those testimonies back now that you've already released them. The Bible literally says that God will not share His glory. Okay? God will not share in His glory. And that's exactly what Lucifer did when he was in the heavens. And God kept placing stones on him because he was building the foundations to the New Jerusalem. Right? And he only got so many of them done before the war broke out. Right? But it's the same thing. He started seeing himself, and God would put these stones on him. Right? These stones were being placed all over him. And he started getting puffed up in glory because he was looking better than all the rest of the angels, so to speak. And so he wanted them to praise him. He wanted them to worship him and clap for him, like when all of that honor really only belonged to God, but he wanted that honor. And now we see men and women, they want all of that same honor that only belongs to God. Okay? That's why they're deceived. That's why there's other spirits that are working inside of them in their ministries. Okay? But anyway, so I seen the word smirt written on the ceiling. Yep, that's the right word, SMIRT. So I was like, Lord, what? I wrote down smirt. I documented the dream and stuff, right? And then I wrote down the word smirt. And I'm like, okay, Lord, I'm not going to look it up. I'm not going to look at anything. I'm going to let you reveal it to me. Okay, I'm going to let you reveal to me what it is. And later that day, I kept hearing the word then play over and over in my spirit. And a few times I even heard it audibly. And I'm like, Lord, okay, what do you want me to do? But he wasn't telling me anything. He wasn't telling me anything because he was letting me know that he wasn't going to reveal it to me in that manner, right? The word kept coming in my spirit. But if God wanted to tell me something about it, he would have told me when he kept repeating the word, right? And so I was like, okay, later in the evening, I looked it up. What I ended up finding after a short search, okay, and immediately there was a couple other things like some companies pertain to it, stuff like that, and I just knew that it didn't have anything to do with that. But I ran across this one thing, and it was a book that was written, and it had this character in it named Smirt. Okay, this character, when I started reading the book, okay, and this is a demon, okay. This is a demonic power. And this is how I know that there are demons and demonic powers that are still created as time goes on. Everyone seems to think that, well, if it's not something that was placed in the Bible, then it's not true. Then it's not here and it's our time. These people are ignorant because they don't understand the things of the Spirit. Not everything in the Spirit is exactly placed in the Word of God. Okay? There's nothing new under the sun. That's in the natural realm. Okay, but video games are new. Cars are new. At one point in time, there was no cars. You get what I'm saying? The Lord knew that these things were going to come to pass. Okay, so they'll take scriptures and they'll manipulate it to whatever they want to. But there are demons that are created. If you think about it this way, until there was a Jezebel that walked this earth in the natural, there was no Jezebel spirit in the realm of the spirit. Okay, like I mean, there's certain things that happen that the kingdom of darkness produce and make, and it operates in the realm of the spirit. Okay? So anyway, I was reading this book, and it had this character named Smirt in it. And as I'm reading it, I'm like, before I started reading, I'm like, Lord, you have to reveal to me what this pertains to. Like, my spirit lit up, so I knew I was in the right place. I said, Lord, this is a book with a character. He gave me a number. I went to the page number. You know how you can kind of do like on the search or whatever, right? And you can flip through the pages on like a whatever. So I went to the page number that he gave me, and I started reading from there. And as I started reading it, it said a white kingdom and a black kingdom. It wasn't talking about people, okay? It was talking about kingdoms of light and kingdom of darkness. And it was talking about this man, it was talking about this character specifically. And everything that it was talking about, it was supernatural things that were being spoken about, okay? And it talked about these realms and this dimension, and it talks about building these different things, and it talked about these wars and how this person was torn between serving these two kingdoms. Okay, so I started going through this book. As I started going through this book, the Lord revealed to me out of nowhere. I didn't know that it had to do with any type of game. I had no idea. I just thought it was a book that was written. Out of nowhere, I get to this point in this book where all of a sudden I just started having downloads and visions. Boom, 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 boom. Of the game Fortnite. I haven't played video games since my kids was little. Like, I'm talking little, you know? And and that's the only time I ever played was with my kids, right? Just it has something to do with my kids. Like, I never got into it, none of those things, right? So I started having just these visions of this game Fortnite. Just the Lord was just giving them to me over and over and over. And the visions themselves wasn't what made sense. It's just the Lord gave me the visions repeatedly while I was awake so that I would know what it pertained to. And I was like, Fortnite? And I was like, oh my gosh. As soon as he started showing me these visions, started going over and over and over in front of me, I automatically knew in my spirit that this was the whole game had been based off of this, and this was the demon god that was over Fortnite. Do you remember when these kids was losing their minds? Do you remember when they was breaking stuff and breaking TVs? This was a demonic spirit that was coming upon these kids playing this video game. And God had given me something that I had asked him for that. And God had given me something and showed me something that pertained to that. So I put together, like, I had let God lead me, and I put together this prayer. And man, I started warring against all of that. And immediately, my kids had played no Fortnite anymore. I'm not saying that they never have at this point, but they were younger at that time, right? This is like 5 years ago, maybe 6 years ago, something like that, right? And so, all these kids was going crazy because of that game. You notice they didn't go crazy over any of that. They wasn't going crazy over sports games. It was happening all because this game, and it was demonic powers. It was coming upon these children and causing them to go crazy. They was breaking controllers, breaking game systems, tearing stuff up in their rooms in the house, and all kinds. It was on the news and everything. People was talking about it, right? About this. And I started going to war against this game, and everything, boom, everybody in my family, all the kids in my family randomly stopped playing it. And I low-key was asking my brothers and sisters and just, asking other people that I knew, right? Just low-key finding out what was going on if their kids was still playing it after a while. Then the game itself kind of dismantled. I'm sure that it's still out there. Certain kids still play it, but so much of it was dismantled because there was a war that took place in the spirit realm. You get what I'm saying? So I'm certain there was a reason for me, bringing that up in general. Okay, these demons are specifically placed in the video games to kill the children's desire for school, for friendships, okay, for relationships with their family and parents, and it replaces with the desires to live in these fantasy worlds, in these gaming worlds all day long. I'm sure if any of you have had younger kids or experienced any of that with gaming systems, like you know how it's this just demonic draw that pulls them into these things. Okay. The Marine Kingdom is highly organized and strategized. Okay. There are laboratories within these kingdoms, right? Remember what I talked to you about earlier, and all the angels being kicked out of heaven. Some of them went to the water, some of them went to the earth, right? Went to these different places. So there's different kingdoms built up, but these angels still had the same, the same, what do I want to say? The same understanding, the same revelation, all the same giftings, everything that God actually created them with in the beginning. They still had all of these things. Okay, so now they're being used for the kingdom of darkness. Right, and if you remember, I said there are angels that have that are versed in technologies. Okay, there's angels that are versed in certain laboratories, certain types of even medications, those certain types of industries as well. You get what I'm saying? So there are laboratories that have technology, sophisticated equipment, all right, and are used by these high-ranking Satanists on the land. But the spirit, it's first created in these kingdoms. Those spirits bring it, because those spirits are inside these people that are on the earth. Then these people create. They either create through technology, like we were talking about the gaming systems, okay? But I'm going to talk about the other stuff they create. Okay, you remember at one point in time, implants and all this stuff was never created. Do you remember even back like 10, 15 years ago, nobody was getting lip injections. Nobody was getting none of this stuff. Okay, and I'm not on here to dog anybody out. I'm talking about the kingdom itself. Okay, if you remember, none of these things were around. None of these things were around. Even stuff that goes back to health in general, working out and fitness and all that stuff. Like, you got umpteen hundred different brands, companies out there that make supplements and all these products, right? So, and the clothing, the clothing that women work out in and all this other stuff, right? I mean, I'm not saying that all of them are negative in that aspect, but I'm letting you know a lot of this stuff, a lot of these companies. Do you remember when I talked to you about the Cosmic Kingdom and I told you guys to, when we get off, to go on the Google and just do companies with the Saturn logo and look at how many companies are tied to the cosmic realm? Look how many companies are tied to the cosmic realm. That's where the power for them to generate wealth comes from. It's not coincidental that all of these companies, the people who own these companies are the ones that hold all of the wealth. And they pay everybody on the earth to make all of their products. Then you use all of that money to buy the products back from them. They don't ever lose out on anything. I don't mean to laugh. I'm just saying, like, it's messed up system. It's a messed up system, right? They knew what all this stuff was going to happen, right? They got all this different stuff even going on with foods and stuff. If you remember, even some years back, some states and some counties started requiring people to have permits to even have gardens on their own properties and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Come on, if y'all haven't figured out what's going on in the world by now, like, some of us been talking about this stuff for like 6, 7, 8, 10 years, and people thought we was crazy, and now everything's starting to happen. Yep. So, again, they're high-ranking Satanists design things that are seductively beautiful and irresistible. Okay, and when I say seductively beautiful and irresistible, I'm not just talking about for women and things that beautify women. I'm talking about seductively beautiful. There's cars, right? Super exotic cars and houses and all this stuff. It's a form of seduction. It's a form of seduction. The Marine Kingdom is heavy in a spirit of seduction. Okay. They are created by psychiatrists, scientists, technical engineers, psychologists, and designers alike. Okay. And you think, how does psychologists play into all that? Look, these psychologists and all these people, they understand. These people are deep into marketing. They know how to market these things to people and play on emotions and all this stuff. I was just counseling with somebody. When was it? I had somebody in my office last weekend, and we were going through some things, and I was talking to them about how in marketing a long time ago when I was I think like 18, my uncle who was famous at the time, he sent me this book. Okay, I'm not going to say the name of the book, and it wasn't a Christian book, but it had to do with the mind and the power of the mind and all this, right? It was a small book, and actually I read through all of it, and it talked a lot in there about how at one point in time the governments banned a form of marketing to where on TV they would show an ad for something, and then they would show a flash of the image of whatever they were wanting to sell. So if they had a car and they showed a car driving, then boom, they would show a flash of the car just sitting still. Then it would go on a little bit more, and boom, they would show a flash. They actually banned that programming because it is a form of mind control and a form of imprint on the mind that literally will cause the person to do whatever they can and go get that thing, whether it's food, whether it's a product, whatever. So they completely banned it. Okay. And so there are people that work for the kingdom of darkness that are in psychology that they use to help them establish marketing, right? And that marketing is all a form of schemes to sell the product, right? To get people to buy their product. Okay. So this is why there's different types of people on the earth that the enemy uses from the marine kingdom. Okay. They work tirelessly to design the latest weapons, which high power weapons, all that stuff, the technology, all those things that come to make weapons all come from there because it represents war and death. Okay. Flashy cars, different types of clothing and apparel designs and luxuries, or various forms of electronics. We see where electronics from phones to TVs have came over all of the years. Okay. Also, perfumes, right? Assorted types of cosmetics. Not saying every single cosmetic, okay? But for many of you know that, many of you who are females know this, even about the stuff that they place in these things, and some of that stuff comes from elements of the earth, right? So not even everything that they put in them comes from the ocean itself, but it's originated and designed there because it has to do with beautification and vanity. Okay, I'm not saying because you wear makeup you're a vain person. I'm not saying that either. Okay, but I'm saying that many of these companies, many of these products, they're all created and they're all birthed out of the marine kingdom. Okay, certain types of lipsticks, face powders, eyeshadows, all that. I don't need to go through all of the names. Okay. You know, eye primers, mascara, all that stuff. Okay. So the next category I'm going to go into, and then we'll do some questions and stuff like that.